Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I'm your host for the week, James Wood, and joining me, as always, the effervescent Adam Ryan.
Hello, that's me.
That is. And living that life von Dutch cult classic, Zach Jackson.
How you going? I am bringing it back. I mean, I think it's sort of been brought back, but I'm, catching that wave right at the end of it. Right as it fizzes out at the end,
Yep. Nobody could ever say that you are not on top of a trend.
I want to say I was one of the OG Von Dutches. So just think about that.
Oh, yeah.
When you're about to curse me. When I was in Tassie, I had, I think 8 different Von Dutch hats. At school, I was called Dutchy because I used to wear Von Dutch hats. So there you go.
I love that. That's a point of pride. Jesus.
Genuinely,
it's not really.
It's quite disarming, actually.
It wasn't my favorite nickname. I mean, I didn't have many great ones, to be honest.
Mate, I feel you. Everyone can probably assume what my nickname in high school was. On today's show, we have got Adam has been spending some time on the beach with Death Stranding 2, hotly anticipated Kojima sequel. It's all fucking happening. Zach has also been splish-splashing around with Still Wakes the Deep, the Siren's Rest DLC. And I don't know, just been hanging out, been living my life, touching grass, Yeah. Sometimes you got to do it. Zach. Red or white wine?
Depends. Give me the scenario. Set it up for me.
I can't. That's too much pressure. I feel like I just need an off the cuff response.
If it's a potty recording, actually, that's still a good question. It could be. Look, I'll say probably white, but
Okay. Yeah.
I do like a good red.
Who doesn't? Adam?
Yeah, he doesn't.
A cup of tea is usually my go-to for podcast recording, if that's what we're going to continue on with. But
Yep. And what if you're at a wedding?
At a wedding, straight
tea.
on the H2Os for this man at a wedding.
Not on the iced teas?
Oh, mate, if there's iced teas on offer, are you kidding? Absolutely.
But long as they don't come from Long Island, right?
None of those. Fun little aside. I was in Sydney recently for the Kojima panel, and I went to a ramen place, as one does, and ordered one type of ramen, and they brought out a different type of ramen. Fairly similar, so I didn't really care, right? They were pumping. Had so many people there. I was like, look, I'm not going to bother them. I don't really care. And then one of the ladies there comes out, and she's like, you didn't order that, did you? I'm like, nah, but it doesn't matter. It's delicious. I'm having a great time. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She goes away, and there I am sitting there like, fuck, I wish I got a drink. I don't know why I didn't order a drink. That was really stupid. And then there she comes out to say sorry with an iced tea. She said, here's an iced tea on the house. Sorry about the ramen mix-up. And the planets just aligned, boys. Sometimes that happens, and that was one of those times. It was great.
The world can be a kind place.
Someone who doesn't drink iced teas because, well, I'm too busy drinking wine. Are there different flavors of iced tea? Or is that just the...
Yes, there are different flavors of tea. There are different flavors of iced tea. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, there's different flavors of tea. Don't fucking gaslight me with your tea comments, mate.
Well, it's tea, but iced.
Oh. Makes sense,
it's,
I guess, actually.
It's like cooled tea that's got a bit of sugar in it. There's no secret sauce here.
So it's like Lipton iced tea, but just in a glass with some ice cubes in it.
I mean, that would technically be an iced tea. I'm really confused about your question, but oh god,
I don't know. Don't drink tea.
I don't know. I swirl it. It doesn't have legs. I don't get it. It's so weird.
Well, this has been a great way to start off the podcast about video games. Why don't, in fact, we talk? Adam, we kind of know what you've been playing, but Zach, what have you been touching?
Actually, you're gonna like
that's
this.
Not content, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Anna's back, so I'll put that to you. But so now that she is back, we've rolled credits, even as they say, on Silent Hill 2.
Okay, hey, nice.
Yeah. So finally hit the finish line there. Yeah. I mean, I think we were pretty close. We didn't have much left. So yeah, good to wrap that up because I kind of. Upon return, we hadn't played it probably in a couple of months. Probably even more than that because she's been away for a couple of months. So maybe 3 to 4 months, and I just had forgotten. So it took a while to get back to where I, kind of recalled what was going on. But yeah, decent. Didn't really love the ending boss though.
Yeah, it's a little clumsy.
It's more that like we've seen that. I get it from a story perspective, but it's just one of those things like we've already had that boss fight. So
yeah,
give me something a little bit different. Spice it up. Well, I don't know if we had that exact boss fight, but we had a very similar one. If I want to say it's the same.
Yeah, because it's like the bed form, right? Is what you're talking about, like the concept of yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, like it's like it's a recurring visual motif, and I appreciate that from just like a storytelling point of view. But from a mechanical point of view, I agree. Like that last fight is just you pump some bullets and really make sure you did the job. If you know what I'm saying, Silent Hill 2 fans.
I also, I don't know if it's me or if it's the game or if it's just developers. I don't know. I don't love boss fights that aren't clear on what you are meant to do. Now, what I mean by that is that there was a particular boss fight, Triangle Head, that I had to look up what to do. Right? But you
Did
can
you do
actually
that intentionally. Are you fucking with us?
We have to, surely.
You know the big triangle.
Okay.
I'm trying to save spoilers, brother.
Oh yeah, smooth
for Silent Hill 2.
and switching pyramid with triangle. What a fucking.
Anyway, so Pyramid Head. But that fight, you can actually fight him without shooting him. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I just wish that there was some sort of. Yeah, because I spent a few times trying to just kill him. And then obviously I got.
What, the first time in the hospital?
A time. I don't remember. It might be that time. I don't recall.
Okay.
Because this is way back when. I'm now just talking about this now.
Yeah.
But I just remember. I would just wish I didn't have that frustration. I guess
that's
I know
pretty
that,
common in survival horror though, right?
Yeah. Because even with that last one, right? Like in the last part of the game, you fight the little teeny pyramids. What's the small pyramid called? I don't know.
The teeny pyramids?
You fight the two little twins, the twin pyramids. Towards the end.
They're regular sized pyramids.
Nah, not as big as Big Dog. Anyway. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. Anyway, but
Jesus.
they don't feel as powerful as the main. Anyway, but those you can kill. It's just like
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just my thing. Other than that, I did install. Actually, I'm gonna go back on a journey. I don't know why. I've just got a bit of an inkling, a bit of a scratch I want to itch. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Other way around. I got an itch I want to scratch. Far Cry 6. I don't know why.
Mate, as someone who is pretty regularly reinstalling, playing 20 minutes of an Ubisoft title and then uninstalling it again, I get it. I just did that last week with Ghost Recon Wildlands. So,
Jesus
isn't that
Christ.
bad though? And isn't Far Cry 6 good? I'm pretty sure KV gave like Far Cry 6 like a 9.
Hang on.
I mean that might.
We've established how we feel about KV's tastes here.
I mean, I did give Far Cry 5 a 9, so I'm in nobody.
You are
I'm in no position to.
No. Jesus Christ. Is Wildlands the good one or it was Ghost Recon? Because there were two.
Wildlands is considered the good one because of its open world.
Sorry, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, anyway, I'm keen to jump back into that. Probably never. And yeah. Also, has anyone had? This is me just going to turn into a bit of a bitch now. Has anyone had any issues with their PS5 and the Wi-Fi? I am at my fucking end with this. It's the only two devices in my house. Actually, let me go back to the start. Does anyone else have Google Nest Wi-Fi here?
No.
No.
Okay. So you don't have any issues with it.
That's
Just
anywhere
constantly
near
fucking
big enough.
neither is mine, but I still fucking rock 3 little big satellites, baby. Anyway, yeah, it's just they're the only 2 devices in the house that actually just drop out. I've been trying to install Far Cry 6 for 4 days, and it's still not finished yet because it just does 3%, then drops out, just disconnects from the Wi-Fi and says can't connect to the thing, can't get IP address. I've looked at all the fucking Reddits, all the fucking forums, all the help things, done all the changings. Just it's fucked.
PlayStation Wi-Fi chips in the past have been dog shit. I had issues with my 3 and my 4, but I haven't had issues with my 5. Mine's hardwired though, so I haven't used it for Wi-Fi too much.
Hardwiring does change your life.
So there we go. I moved because I've got a satellite in this room, but so I moved that into the cabinet with the TV and hardwired the PS5 Pro. No issues, none since.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
there you go.
There you go. That's me.
It was trying to save you because you were. I reckon if you tried to download anything else, it would have been like, yeah, mate, no worries. Try to download Far Cry, and it's like
maybe it's telling me don't download Far Cry.
I'm saying
it did let me install
favour.
Tainted Grail. So who knows?
I personally wish that my PS5 had told me not to download FBC Firebreak.
Really?
Could have done with that night back.
I downloaded that. Not good. Stinks, doesn't it? I've seen the headlines.
It's just not. It's just a bit slop. It's just a bit slop, unfortunately.
You sure you want to call it that?
Allegedly, it's just a bit slop
and desist.
Yeah. No, look, I love Remedy. I was cautious about this thing because I think that noted sort of third-person narrative action developer developing a first-person shooter that's meant to be played kind of like a live service type experience raises an eyebrow for sure. That eyebrow went through the fucking roof. I don't know. The missions aren't very well designed. The guns don't feel very good. You know what it consistently reminded me of was the tasks that Fallout 76 would have me do. Just repeated content. Over and over and over again. There's a massive skill tree, but to unlock some of it, you need currency that you also spend on another form of unlocks as well. So it's kind of trying to do the Helldivers thing, where you like find samples and stuff throughout the mission, come back and then spend them on things. But I think the 2 major forms of progress were locked to the same currency, so I felt like I was never really getting enough to like propel myself down some of those trees. Played it with a mate. We did each of the like archetypes of missions and we uninstalled it. So
yeah, right.
That's Firebreak for me.
It's set in the Control. Said that weird. In the Control universe, right? Yeah,
it is. It's in the oldest house.
They Remedy are quite prone to. They're a bit like Capcom, aren't they? You know, they'll put out an absolute banger single player game, then they'll try their hand at multiplayer, and it just stinks. Like,
yeah, very odd choice.
Because they did that. What was the other game that they had?
Past?
They did that other single player, the other multiplayer one with
no idea what you're on about.
Nah, you yeah, because it's been purged from your mind. Find it. Oh, it would help if actually
good content. Yes.
Well, yeah, this is fantastic.
Well,
I was trying to think of other things I could say about Firebreak to cover this gap, but it's like I don't know.
Said everything.
So the mission where you like the big like sticky note monster, which does look really cool. Like in all the trailers and shit, totally fine. But to get to that, you kind of have to do like escalating difficulty versions of the same mission over and over again. And the mission is like run around through a bunch of sticky notes, get them stuck to your person, run into a shower to wash them off, repeat, while fighting through hordes of like mindless zombie fodder.
Yeah.
And you start off with like a number that already felt tedious to do. And by the time you get to like the difficulty level where you could encounter that boss, you're doing like, quadruple that number. I don't know, not fun.
I was hoping that, because one of the, selling points, I guess, was that the missions
Crossfire
were...
X.
They didn't do the multiplayer for that.
No, but they were part of it, though.
Yeah, they did the single player shit, though. I mean, either way, game sucked.
Correct. That's more.
Yeah, I get you. Yes, the missions were like very condensed, and you could kind of bash 1 or 2 out in like 10 or 20 minutes. I vibed with that because if I'm playing online with mates, it's like, you know, some people tend to go to bed early and other people kick on, and like you want to just be able to duck in, duck out. I liked that idea, but I was kind of cautious that if they were short and like, you know, made to be short, that they were going to be kind of vapid and nothing. And it sucks to know that that's the case. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with my opinion on it. Adam, before we get into the big one, have you been playing anything that's not content?
Not really. I've kind of not bathed. My eating schedule's been terrible. I've been eating like shit. Haven't been to the gym for a week and a half. Because we got this game really far in advance. But I just had like all of my social and like other events tended to, it just kind of lined up with it. So yeah, the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks has pretty much been Death Stranding. I've played a little bit of Zelda here and there. But it's only because that's portable and I can like play it in bed, but nah, nothing.
Okay. Yeah. Bridgeable, you might say.
Dreadful.
I do want to just quickly address that because every single motherfucker seems to be born in June. And there's 2 motherfuckers that we need to say happy birthday to. And that's one fella on the potty right now, Mr. James Wood, had his celebrated his birthday last week. And I believe Nathan was also last week, or was it the week before? Might have been the week before. Late week before. So happy birthday
big dogs
to
now
you two
closer to
lads.
senior dogs.
Yeah. Woof woof. Yep.
Woof woof.
Love that.
So, Adam, you were saying before that, like, part of the reason why you sort of, like, struggled to get around to Death Stranding immediately was because of all your social sort of connections and whatnot. Should we have connected?
There we go. That one was good. Yeah, so I start my review off with that quote, and it was kind of the driving force behind why I was a little bit worried about this game, or Death Stranding getting a sequel. To explain, I use Ragnarok as an example, right? So God of War 2016? Jesus Christ. Is it 2016?
Oh, boy.
Anyway, the new God of War, right? 2018, I think. It kind of blew everyone out of the water because there were no expectations for it, right? And it changed what God of War was, and that's what kind of, it garnered all the 10s and 9s, and that's why. Ragnarok, excellent game in its own right. Divisive, I know, James, I think you have maybe different opinions on it.
I do, but that's okay.
It didn't surprise. So it got lesser reviews because it wasn't a surprise. My fear with this game was that to try and circumvent that, Kojima was going to completely change everything about it, and it was going to take this really weird swing, and it was going to be a different experience, where I just wanted a continuation of what made Death Stranding Death Stranding. Thankfully, it wasn't a weird... I mean, it was still fucking weird. The game's very strange. That doesn't change. But it is very much more Death Stranding, and that's why I love it so much. Because it is just a continuation on what made the game good, and it definitely tightens things. It's an iterative sequel, though. It's not making any, like... You know, now you go to space and you can shoot lasers out your ass. There's none of that. It's just more Death Stranding with tightened narrative structure, a better, more concise story, and additions to the gameplay that I say later in the review or somewhere in there that it complements it. It doesn't complicate it, which was really all I wanted. Zach Jackson.
One of the things I have seen or like heard is that this game, like you said, is just a sequel, but it also addresses a lot of the feedback, even complaints that people had about the first game. So, like you said, things are a bit tighter. Yep. Things feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably the biggest aspect is the narrative pacing. I only recently replayed the first maybe 2 or 3 hours of the first Death Stranding. You don't properly get into what is the meat and potatoes of the game until like 2.5 hours in, maybe, when you're trekking a body up to an incinerator, which it makes sense if you play it, kind of. but it takes a really long time to get those wheels spinning. Death Stranding, literally, the game opens onto a vista. Sam is sitting with Lou on his chest on a mountain, and it says go home. And you kind of get reacquainted with all of the vital systems on that walk. And you're just immediately into it. There's no kind of long drawn out sequence. And even then, after maybe an hour, shit's hit the fan. There's, a plot point that has pushed you. It's kind of your nudge back into the porting world and connecting Mexico and Australia through the chiral network, all of the proper noun bullshit in a much quicker amount of time. And the narrative it took me somewhere between 30 and 40 hours to finish the campaign. The narrative pacing from start to finish is like worlds better. There's not the kind of the peaks and troughs that the first one went through. It's consistent, which is probably what the first one had its biggest issues with, was consistency. But yeah, narrative pacing for sure. Yes.
Okay, so like I love the first one. I think Death Stranding is like 10 out of 10 masterpiece, not just because, but in large part because I think it's a very sort of like player indifferent experience. I think sometimes that produces frustration, sometimes it produces joy, but they are holistically very important to the kind of like why Death Stranding works. Sure. I've seen sort of a prevailing thing in some of the discourse around this game that there are certain reviewers who are sort of frustrated that it is a more like sanded down consumable version of the concept of Death Stranding, the kind of methodical gameplay, the quiet, the boring even of it all.
Sure.
How do you feel about that? Is this a game that you feel has maybe gone too far in addressing those concerns?
No, but I did have this thought when reviewing it, and I do address it somewhat more so in the difficulty of the deliveries. My two negative, not to give away the ghost as to what my score was, but my two negative points were that you can't visit Tasmania. It's a fucking crying shame. And the difficulty pacing is a little odd, because you're given a lot of the tools that you had in the first game, you get them way earlier, and even like vehicles and things that make deliveries heaps easier. So the points of friction aren't as pronounced early on. They definitely, but then towards the end, some of the deliveries towards the end of the game blow out of the water anything from the first. They're really very, very taxing, and time consuming as well. They're really long, and arduous, but no, I don't think so. I think there are still plenty of points of friction, but you're challenged to kind of overcome them in different ways, I think. So you're given all of like an expanded tool set, better and you're given more ways to make things easy, but there are also more things in your way that can potentially make them more difficult, if that makes sense. Which, I mean, I can quickly, I can kind of touch on one of the newer things, which is the world feels a bit more alive. There are more emergent gameplay moments, because there are natural disasters. There's earthquakes, or plate. I don't know. There's a proper noun for it. Earthquakes, that if you're in the mountainous regions, rocks will literally get torn out of the mountain and crush you. Or if you're in the snow, avalanche, all of that jazz. Rivers will flood very quickly and out of nowhere, and they'll destroy anything. Like if there's a bridge, gone. Yes, James.
On the topic of the rivers, this is something from like the initial trailer even that I was excited about. Are these systems, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, truly emergent in the sense that like when that water overflows, it will overflow in a lot of directions, or do they feel a bit more scripted?
They don't feel scripted at all, to the point where they're actually quite rare. The earthquakes actually prop up a lot more for story reasons towards the end of the game, and same with the flooding. But there's also bushfires, sandstorms, and snowstorms as well. They are actually more rare than I was expecting. I was thinking it was going to be kind of like the BT encounters from the first game that probably popped up maybe a little too often. But they are, whatever, coding magic they've got in the background, it is well balanced. But no, they do happen. And like, you'll get notifications when they're happening on the other side of the continent. Like, I was on the East Coast, and it was like, oh, something's happening in West, not City or whatever the fuck it is. And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't affect me at all, but it's nice to know that the world is still like
Yeah.
the tree fell in the woods and it did make a noise. If that makes any, it's kind of a labored thing. But yes, Zach.
I don't think you've I've been listening, so forgive me if I've missed this, but I don't think you've actually stated that this game is set in Australia, right? Like I don't think
it is. Yeah.
So I have a question. This question may be spoilers. If it's spoilers, fine, don't answer it. Let it go through the keeper. But I would love to know just a bit about that. But the first question is, how do we end up here? Is it like a story reason why we end up in Australia? And the second part, not separate question, but just tell us about this world, this Australia, this that Kojima has built.
Yes, really, really good question, and I've got what I think is a different answer to than what I've seen elsewhere. So the setup of it, yes, there are storyline reasons. There's another proper noun that gets you there that I've seen other people talk about. I'd prefer not to talk about it because it is kind of central to the plot. As for Australia itself, it still has that kind of like Icelandic feel that the US did, where it was set in the US, but it wasn't really the US, right? There were no recognizable landmarks or whatever. There's definitely still a bit of that, but it is way more unique and Australian, I guess. There's like a lot more coast. There's a lot more variation. There's like these arid red deserts that kind of do feel like the center of Australia. And yeah, a lot more kind of recognizable terrain, I guess. Like there's in the Northern Territory, there are a lot of like these very unique looking rock formations that kind of look like little towers. There's a lot of those about, which are really hard to navigate as well from a gameplay perspective. So that's really cool. What I think is more unique about setting it in Australia is, so Kojima's big on this philosophy of the rope and the stick. So it's like humans, when they first were, looking to invent tools, they created the rope to bind things together that they wanted to keep close, and the stick to ward away other people to keep them afar. First game, very focused on the rope, connecting people. This game is way more focused on the use of the stick and violence, both in taking control and warding off people who wish to gain control over you. And a big driving force behind that is firearms. So one of the villains is it's obviously using firearms against the people, but he's also flooding the country with these firearms for them to defend themselves. So it's kind of breeding a culture of violence through firearms, right? So that, in the current world climate, I think is it's pertinent no matter where you are, but particularly in Australia, because we've built kind of an anti-gun culture over the years, kind of built on tragedy with Port Arthur and, the gun buyback and all of that. It feels different and it feels more affecting, probably because we live here. But also it is mentioned throughout the game that, when it was Australia, they had such a strong culture, like an anti-gun culture around this. So it's kind of flying in the face of that. So I think it hits way harder. And like there's fucking animals, like you can catch kangaroos and koalas and you see Tassie devils. That's all very cool. But I think from a narrative and contemplative perspective, there's a more interesting reason that it's set in Australia other than just our scenery and our animals, if that makes sense.
I have sort of a two-part follow-up to that. First part being, seems like the combat's really fucking good.
Yes. Yep.
So how does the game, or does the game at all, sort of square away what it's thematically trying to do with violence and its new layered combat systems?
Yes. So combat is significantly improved. I don't think they've tuned anything massively, but they've just tightened it. There's just less friction in a good sense in this way, where you can just equip a weapon, use it, move on to the next weapon, so on and so forth. And it just feels a lot tighter. But yes, there are kind of narrative... there is a narrative there, yes. I can't really say too much as to what there is, but a lot of the weapons you use are to pacify enemies, not to kill them. There are options for you to not do that, but people will treat you a lot differently. And in the social strand aspect of it, of people giving likes and whatnot, you'll actively lose likes for killing people. And there's a whole thing that dead bodies, after a while, they necrotize and then they create BTs and all of that
They cause the
jazz.
BT situation, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which, again, if you haven't played the first game and you haven't done this, if Sam dies via a BT, it'll create a massive crater in the ground permanently, which is a really cool mechanic.
Is that still there in this?
Still very much there, and it happened to me on a route that I took all the time, and it made it very difficult. It was a real pain in the ass. It was either like go around or... Anyway, yeah, it's still there.
It's killing me because I have like so many questions about this game because I haven't played this yet. Specifically did not want to review it because I was like, I need this to be me, my experience with it kind of thing for once. Okay, rapid fire one. I hear the concept is that this time players are working towards effectively building a mass transit system. How was that during the review process? Sort of not having this kind of like hugely connected world to rely on for resources being piled into the infrastructure.
Yeah, so I did and then I didn't. So for the first couple weeks, that was active for reviewers, which I'm really glad because you get a taste of the social strand aspect. And then the week leading up to the game, no one. There were no servers.
Cool.
You get disconnected, so you kind of get a taste of both. The social strand feature from the first game is back, so you can leave bridges and tools and shit like that around, and it helps the wider community, right, of people playing this game. That is fucking fantastic. It is still just as good as it was, probably better here. When you're like absolutely down on your luck, all of your gear's fucked, you're in a real tight spot, and there's a perfectly laid ladder or bridge or something, and you give that person a like, it's just, there's nothing else in this medium that comes close to that particular feeling. And then having that stripped away it made you feel very vulnerable very quickly. And I think it's an experience that I think you should certainly try playing the game offline, because it'll just give you an appreciation for what that system's trying to do. So yes, it is still there. And yeah, it's slightly improved, like things, it's just a little less clunky to deal with. But otherwise, it's, largely unchanged.
Okay. All right. Last one, because we've got to wrap this up. Should we have connected? Does the game... Do you feel like Kojima has properly grappled with the question of should we have connected here in his narrative?
I think it goes most of the way to answering it. Can't explain why it doesn't go the full length. But yes, I think narratively it does a good job of kind of answering that question from Sam personally, and some of the people around him as well. The cast is fantastic, by the way. The voice cast is incredible.
I am dying to see Elle Fanning in this thing.
She is immediately my favorite character in this series. Like, it's not even close. She's fantastic. Tomorrow, absolutely fantastic. New and returning characters, all great. And I said somewhere in my review that the world is so well developed and interesting and odd and audacious and for lack of a better term, weird. But it makes the really relatable human stories they tell within it all the more pronounced. And you get a lot more of that because you're on the ship, the DHV Magellan, with all of these characters. They're just kind of like a JRPG. They're just kind of added to the party as you play, and you spend way more time with them. And for that reason, you get more connected with them. Should we have connected? But yes, to answer your question in a long roundabout way, it goes probably 9/10 of the way there purposefully. And I thought it was a very satisfying conclusion and answer to that question as well by the time I got there.
Cool. All right. Connect me with your score.
Oh, Zachary.
Sorry.
Let the boy speak. Just back on the Australia thing, does Kojima touch on Indigenous people at all?
Not as much as I would have appreciated. There's, it's a weird line to walk, and I've discussed this with Key, her being an Indigenous person herself. I didn't want to answer the question. I think it's best that she answers it for me. There's a weapon in the game that's a blood boomerang, because of course there is, set in Australia. We have to do that. She's not speaking on behalf of Aboriginals across Australia. The Indigenous people will all have different opinions, just like everyone else. I was with her when they introduced it, and it's kind of more, in her eyes, the meaning behind it rather than just having it in by itself. And the intention was good, so therefore she was kind of indifferent to it and was like, yep, whatever. But yes, a bit more of... Yeah, a bit more representation, I think, would have been grand. I mean, they also didn't... They said it in the US, and the Native Americans didn't really get a shout-out there either. So, yeah, I certainly would have appreciated more from that aspect. It's not that there was no reference whatsoever. There definitely was. Particularly in... There was mention of how the Indigenous people would deal with bushfires, which I thought was kind of a nice little nod, because that is a really important part of Australia's heritage and history. But yeah, there wasn't a great deal, though, to answer your question.
Okay.
Sorry, that's
I have one more. I have one more question. This is from someone who has not completed Death Stranding 1 yet. I've played between 5 and 10 hours, right? Like, you? If I wanted to play Death Stranding 2, do I need to go and play Death Stranding 1 to play this? Not.
I'm so glad you asked.
But do I?
Yes, you do. Flat out, you do. There is a recap, like, little story so far deal. And to be fair, there is a thing called the corpus, which is essentially like an encyclopedia of terms and people and all of that. If you have the patience to read through it, it is a wonderful resource, particularly for someone who's reviewing the fucking game. Thank you so much. But that's I've got an article idea rattling around in my head somewhere. That's always a question that comes up for sequels, right? Do I have to play the first game? You know what? Sometimes the answer is fucking yes. It's, do I have to watch this movie before I watch this movie? Read this book before I read this book? Sometimes the answer is fucking yes. And it should be.
I think it's fucking weird that the answer isn't more often yes in video games.
Absolutely.
The idea that each video game needs to be like an onboarding process because of just like the general resource grind that has to go into producing a video game. I get it as a product. I think it's a fucking disaster for art though. Like,
yes,
tell
absolutely.
continuous stories.
And it doesn't, this game does not fuck around too much with like, hey, remember when we did this, Sam? Or let's tutorialize this because we need to do that. It doesn't. Like, there is tutorials, but mainly they're just like, hey, remember doing this? You're doing it again. And I think it's better for it.
I think my concern is more that people that are time poor, right? So, like, let's say me, like, I've managed to play 5 to 10 hours of this game. It's going to take me probably fucking a year to finish that game if I actually get the chance to sit down and play it. I know you're saying that, yes, I should go and play it, but is it integral to... like, you're saying that there's a little glossary, there's a fucking recap. Like, Daddy's sorted, you know what I mean? Like, Daddy's good to go. Like, I don't want to spend 50 hours delivering boxes to then go spend another 50 hours delivering boxes. I'm not a fucking delivery driver. Like, you know, I got shit to do. So...
No, you do. You do need to play the first one.
All
it's
right,
as simple as that.
All right. You won me over.
That's the
Score.
way.
I mean, we all know, but...
Yeah, I've got very few gripes with this game. I've never given a 10 before up until this, but it is, in my mind, a bit of a modern masterpiece and probably the best sequel I've ever played. It is a 10.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
Which
James.
is terrifying, by the way, also. Giving something a 10 and then waiting to see what other people have said about the game is
Isn't it the
horrific.
best?
Well,
Yeah.
I think with the 10, with most 10s, I think like most 10s are pretty safe.
I knew that this was something special, but also it's a Kojima game, and like I've seen plenty of 5s to 7s to lower than that. But I'm glad. I don't want it to have universal acclaim because it's not for everyone.
No. You know what? No, I'm not going to tell tall tales out of school or whatever that is. Zach, you had a question for me.
I do have a question for you. So, hearing all that, seeing all the scores, all the fanfare, all the hype, all the hibbity bibbity. I know that you are someone that loves riding a wave. You know, you're a surfer. That'll make more sense a bit later. Do you wish that you'd reviewed this? Like, do you wish you'd been like, I want to do this? No. Okay.
Not at all.
No.
I will say, just very, very quickly on that, I had a similar thought because James and I were kind of dancing around who was going to review it, right? Usually, if I have to absolutely mince through a game, I end up resenting it to some degree because I think it's hard not to. This is the first time that I've played, and this is why, in my mind, it was an easy 10 once I got to the end of writing the review. All I wanted to do was go back and continue playing it. And I've got like 50 odd hours into it now. And I can't stop thinking about it. I want to get back to it. And even though I did very much grind this shit out, it didn't affect my experience with it, which I think is pretty fucking special.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Zach, speaking of being on the grind.
That's it, brother.
Grinding that them fossils into oil. That's how that works, right?
It's labored, but I'll give it to you.
That's it.
All right, we got there in the end. Still Wakes the Deep. Siren's Rest.
That's it. That is a thing. You are correct. So I have played that DLC that dropped. Dropped. I think it was announced a week previously, and then dropped on. No, we're not in July yet. June 18 or something like that.
Quick turnaround.
You didn't play Still Wakes the Deep, did you, James? I was trying to remember.
No. It's been on my wish list forever. Okay. I want to.
All right, so I know that Adam did, and I think you were a little bit higher than I was on it, not by a lot, just by a little bit. I gave it a 7.5, so I didn't or a 7, either 7 or 7.5. So I quite enjoyed it. I just found it just wasn't scary enough. It just didn't give me enough. Once I figured out early on that I was safe, right? That nothing was going to probably hurt me until you have these moments that are actually they're moments, right? Where you actually can die or fail. Anyway, so that was kind of my thing. I thought everything about Still Wakes the Deep was fantastic in terms of its production. So its writing, its voice acting, its look, the fucking vibe of the 1970s fucking oil rig, just a phenomenal premise and setting, right? Like set on in the North Sea, in fucking off the shores of Scotland. You're getting these thick Scottish accents, just immaculate, right? Just the playing it just didn't have that zhuzh, you know what I mean? Just didn't. It was just
that sensation.
It was just it was fine. Anyway, so Still Wakes the Deep Siren's Rest is set after the events of Still Wakes the Deep. It is about 10 years after, and you actually play. It's gonna be hard. Fuck it. Like it's in my review. It's probably in most people's review. So this will have spoilers. If you do want to go and play, if you haven't played Still Wakes the Deep, so James, I will be very careful with.
Go for it.
I think you read my review.
I
anyway.
edited the review.
You edited the review, so you know. So if you know, everyone else knows.
It's too late for the poor man.
Yeah.
So the events of Still Wakes the Deep, the oil rig, basically sinks. Right, it goes down into the North Sea, and there are lives lost. So in this one, you play as a girl named like Mary, but it's spelt a little bit funky in a Scottish way, in like a cool way. But it's essentially pronounced Mary. Her and Rob, they're like divers. They're like a diver thing, right? They're like, I don't know if they're actually what they do in terms of diving, but they are diving down into the North Sea to explore the wreckage of this oil rig, which is called the Biridi, I think from memory is how they pronounced it. Because Mary's dad, who I will say is not the protagonist from the first game, he passes away, or he's lost in the first game. So she wants to go down and just try and get some closure because this oil rig went down in mysterious circumstances, right? So no one knows why it's sunk. They just know that it has and that lives were lost. So she basically sets out and dives underwater and explores, like the wreckage of this oil rig. The whole thing is about 2 hours, about 2 hours long. One of my favorite horror games is Soma, if you've ever played that, which just is fantastic. And it's got the right level of, I think these sorts of like, not walking simulators, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like hide and seek kind of stealth kind of games, right? Like those kinds of things. It's got the right amount, it's got the right balance, I think, of letting you immerse yourself in the narrative and getting invested in these characters, but also making you shit your pants like now and again, right? And you're never quite sure, if this is the time that you're going to shit your pants or if it's not. Again, this DLC, it has, unsurprisingly, it has the same issues as before. Everything on a production level for this DLC, fantastic, right? Like, I loved Mary's character. There's this emotion in the Scottish accents that just hits harder from like an emotional like standpoint, and just knowing that like she is someone who is going, she's diving to the North Sea to try and get closure for herself, right? She's not paid to go and do this for someone else. This is like her doing it for herself. So there's just that added level of kind of emotional investment in there, and you just kind of feel like you feel attached to this character, and the banter between her and like Rob is really good. And initially the exploration undersea, like under the water, because you basically spend like half your time underwater, like going through the wreckage or out in the kind of open sea, not open sea, but you kind of know what I mean, in the area, and then half of it you like eventually you find these like little pockets of the wreckage that are actually not underwater. You can actually traverse in and through, and it's awesome. Like, it's awesome going through this wreckage, especially underwater. Just from a gameplay level, it just doesn't have it, right? And there's, it's just a bit boring. It just kind of like the first one. It's just like there's a moment where you have to traverse like an area underwater, but you're moving through the thing, and your puzzle is to push this like bookcase like out of the way just to make kind of room, and you have this like umbilical cord which is feeding you oxygen from like your diving bell, and it's just a little bit immersive breaking because this thing gets fucking stuck in anything. It fucking clips through walls. There's actually a point, I didn't mention this in my review because it only happened to me once, but I think it happened quite a few times to quite a few reviewers, but it goes invisible. So there's actually a time where the first time it happened, I didn't quite realize what was happening, right? So there's a moment where you have to disengage, you have to disconnect from your umbilical cord, and you got to basically, because it's stuck, right? So you got to basically go back to it and reattach yourself. I didn't quite understand what I was doing. I didn't realize that I would die, so I died. And then I realized, okay, that makes sense. I thought she was just like disconnecting like from her thing, and she was just going to be on like tanks, right? Like, nah, apparently not. Anyway, so then after getting back to it, I was like, hang on, where is it? And I kind of shimmied around the area where I thought it was, and then the little button prompt, came up, and I was like, okay, cool. It's just fucking invisible. But there are times where you like go through cracks, you go through these areas, and this cord is magically just fucking coming all through that, and it's just that part of it is just a little bit immersive breaking. So in the end, like, I gave it a 6.5. I didn't love the ending. I think people will like the ending. For me, it just didn't. It felt a little bit cheap. And I felt a bit shortchanged. Like, for a 2-hour DLC, like, I kind of wanted. Like, Mary went down there to get closure. I kind of wanted closure on her story. I didn't want more fucking questions. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
So, but
how much are they charging for this?
$25, I think, is the Australian. No, that's a lie. $19.45. I did write that in my review. I'm just scrolling down to make sure I had that. Yeah, So
It's like the concept of like a 2-hour DLC actually I find really cool. Like a little like coda, a little just movie length experience.
I fucking love games that do DLCs. Like this is what I think I wish people did more of. And like if you like, I always reference the Evil Within, right? Like I bought the season pass for that game or whatever it was called back then, Evil Pass, who the fuck knows what, right? But that came with like 3 DLCs or at least 2 DLCs, and they were fucking great. You know, they were like 3 to 4 hours long, extra content. Like I'll happily pay $130 or whatever it is, or you know whatever it might be in today's market. If you're going to give me extra fucking DLC content, you know, sure, like now and again that might spin off into its own little thing, like you kind of Dishonored ones did, where they're a bit more pricier. But I love it. Like I love that they've gone fuck it. Like let's go back to this world because it's a fucking cool world. It's a cool concept. It's a really awesome concept, and all the stories around it, and like just the idea of like, and you will learn about people on this rig. Like as you're exploring this, you know, the environments, you'll pick up little notes and little bits and pieces, right? That kind of tell stories about people that were on the ship, and it makes them feel real. Like it makes them not just fucking, because there's one of the mechanics which is again very strange. You have a camera, right, to take pictures, but the camera does die. I never figured out how to charge it. I don't know if you ever meant to charge it, but at certain points of the thing, it dies, so you can't take pictures all the time. But when you come across bodies, like you know, you take the pictures of like the bodies, but then you actually kind of explore the areas and you find the little bits and pieces about them, and it just makes them feel more like a mechanic, if that kind of makes sense. Like they're not just there to be taken a picture of; they're actually like real people that existed in this world, and it just makes the whole thing have a bit more weight to it. Yeah. Other than like I gave it a 6.5. I think if you quite liked the base game, I think you should definitely play this, because a lot of that, like if I got closure, that score's probably nearly an 8. Right.
Okay.
That's
I know that's a big flip, but it's just
endings are important.
Yeah, like
they are really important.
I think it's worth mentioning that the ending of the base game I thought was fantastic.
I really like the ending as well. Yeah,
really strong. Yeah, like emotionally pretty rough. I remember having a bit of an emotional reaction to parts of that game.
And you want that.
So yeah, absolutely. So I see where the disparity is between those two scores. So yeah. That's,
I mean, the other thing is just there's only one real moment in this game that is interactive in the sense that you're a target, right? So
okay.
I don't want to kind of say too much with that because it kind of does get in, not spoilers, but like you obviously something has made this oil rig collapse, you know, or crash. If you played the original game or know anything about it, it's Lovecraftian. Let's just throw that word out there. You know what that kind of means. The Lovecraftian components of this DLC are minimal, right? And for someone who's diving underneath the ocean to kind of understand why this rig went down, there's just very little. It is like you do as you go. She kind of realizes that something's gone on, right? It's not just an accident, but yeah, that one moment is just, it's very easy. It's just not fun. Like those, yeah. And I think those moments, like Adam, I can't even remember, but did you find those let's call them chase sequences? They're not necessarily chase sequences. Those hide and seek moments. Did you enjoy those from the base game?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. They were the biggest point of irritation for me. And I think almost if it coded itself more as a thriller rather than a horror game, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But it felt like it was trying to kind of force a scare into you that they just weren't capable of delivering on. So I get your point.
I think if they just, I don't quite know, but like if you played Soma, you kind of know like what good plays like, right? Like and a lot of people will say Alien Isolation is a good example. I think they're all wrong, but whatever. Have your moment. But
weird stray that you just shot at Isolation. Didn't need that at all.
Me and KS will fight. We don't ride many horses together, but we'll ride them. You know, fighting the Alien Isolation battle and the fucking PT battle. So, there you go. 6.5. That's still rakes it deep. Sirens Science Rust. Fuck, Science Rest.
Mm.
James, you gonna play
Fantastic. Yeah, at some point. I like the Chinese room. I'm always going to show up at some point for what they do. That's the developer, Zach.
it? No, are you
cut out.
Yeah, the whole thing just I missed everything, so I had to kind of guess what you were saying.
That's all right. Chinese room. Yeah.
Yep.
That's fine. Yeah, I like that studio quite a bit. So I'm
Cool
excited
studio,
for whatever
like,
they do. Yeah,
I think
Are they making Masquerade?
they are. And also
They
some
are.
layoffs, apparently,
is
which I
wild.
just
Yeah.
like from Googling it.
I actually
Yeah,
think
yeah,
you
yeah.
would really like this game. I think.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I just have a lot of other games I need to play and buy, like Pokemon Violet. That's a whole other.
Jesus
Well,
Christ.
I mean, yeah. There you go.
Elsewhere on the WellPlayed review lineup, Jade Garrett has reviewed Tron Catalyst for us, giving it an 8 out of 10. She says, Tron Catalyst is a solid top-down action adventure for Tron fans to experience more of the digital world. Despite its back-and-forth nature with the looping feature, it has simple controls, fun abilities, fast combat, and a detailed story to uncover, and of course, it has that precious light cycle. If you are after a light cycle you can put on your desk, Razer has put out a ProClick V2 Vertical Edition mouse, which Kieran Verbruge has reviewed for us. They say, if you manage to fit the niche of someone wanting both a competent gaming mouse and a Logitech MX Vertical, but don't want to fork out for both, the Razer ProClick V2 Vertical Edition might have just what you need. The array of buttons could be better, but it's a performant and comfortable first go at this form factor. You can read both of those reviews as well as Zach's and Adam's on well-played.com.au.
Shout outs to the
all fucking
to the
happening.
crew.
That's it. Big crew, big week for the crew. Lots going on. Sometimes I think that the crew's a bit too big, and I wonder maybe we should be doing some downsizing. Fortunately,
mate.
I'm not alone in that. Xbox is reportedly planning massive layoffs next week.
It just feels like
Okay.
deja vu. Like we've been here.
So this one's probably coded maybe a little bit different because it's Microsoft as an umbrella. But it's also it's around that dirty time of the fiscal year running out. And this is a part of bigger business. As someone who works for a giant gross conglomerate, I know that is very much just kind of part and parcel of working for these larger corporations. But it's also just a hangover from the buyout though, right? Like this is a byproduct of consolidation. It is what happens like when you buy a massive other company and you mush them together. It's not just you have all of these developers and whatnot. You've got 2 sets of HR, 2 sets of marketing, 2 sets of sales, like, and we'll be feeling that for, this is going to be an ongoing thing for some time. It is not going to be like, all right, we'll get through this and then it'll be done. Like,
I think
this will keep happening.
what people don't maybe realize is that Xbox didn't buy these companies for those people.
Correct.
They bought them
Yeah.
for those
Yeah.
IP.
It's an IP crap.
Yeah, they
For
bought
Call
them
of
to have
Duty.
Call of Duty. They don't give a fuck who made it. I mean, maybe there's probably a few handfuls that they'd want to keep, but realistically, you're just a number in the system, right? Like you're just a number at a big company, and if your ticket's up,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
um,
This has come from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, who's written a report about this. Quote, substantial cuts across the entire group are expected. The Verge has also done a follow-up report saying that there will be a restructure of Xbox distribution across Central Europe. One source said it will result in some Xbox operations ceasing in some regions. This is also kind of hot off the tails of Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer on this kind of like bit of a scree at the moment about like everything's an Xbox. We're making VR Xboxes now. We're making ROG Ally Xboxes now. The future of Xbox is going to be this like you'll be playing it in your hands. You'll be playing it on the couch. You'll be playing it at your PC. Like they've gone very broad, I guess, with the concept of what an Xbox and what Xbox's future will look like. I just think it paints a picture of a company that is
desperate.
just completely rudderless. Yeah.
They're fucking desperate. They're just desperate to make more money and desperate for something to hit. They're just So they're just trying it all. They're just trying to get every pie they can finger, he's jabbing it. And I am fucking sick of these top dog motherfuckers just not taking accountability. Like we talk about PlayStation now and how, Jim Ryan fucked it. He fucked it hard, right? Like he obviously wasn't there to have this kind of fall on him. I just don't understand how these people can just keep getting away with it. At what point do the people that make the decisions become accountable for their decisions? Why is it always the people who are just, unfortunately, there? They have to. That's what shits me the most. Is that you look at Phil's legacy is not good. Like,
no.
Yeah, sure, he's turned it round, but Xbox is at the point where they have to fucking, as in, from that Xbox One. Was it Xbox One?
Yeah, it's like Xbox One kind of total fuck up, start steering the shit back in the right direction with Game Pass, and then steer it so far in that direction that they've now looped back around to their fuck up.
Correct.
But even worse this time.
Because now they can't even, they're not good enough or big enough or whatever you want to call enough to sell their own fucking games on their own system anymore. They have to sell them on PlayStation. They have to do it on Nintendo or whatever it is. They have to fucking make it a Samsung TV and Xbox now. I mean, that's kind of neat, but whatever.
That's the fear that I have, is that eventually they're gonna win, in air quotes. No. Like the ecosystem that I think the massive silo that they've just launched is with the ROG Ally Xbox fucking whatever it is, and it's a bigger deal than it might seem on the surface of just like it's an Xbox branded PC handheld. Sure, they don't give a fuck about the hardware of that. It's clear because the hardware of it is like it's got, it has like a controller like layout and it looks like like one of the buttons looks like an Xbox. Consolidation is the massive part of that. And they're no longer even really caring as much about the Xbox platform as the Windows platform. When Sarah Bond did her little, like, we're looking at the next generation of Xbox, they didn't use the word Xbox as much as they used the word Windows. And it was all about consolidating, like, all of your platforms, all of this, that, and the other. We're going to fucking own the platform that allows you to consolidate all of that. And really, I think that's what people, general people in the day-to-day are going to give a fuck about. They just want to be able to turn something on and play shit that they own no matter where it is. So they are making moves that are interesting in that space. Not interesting in a good way, interesting in a fucking scary way.
I agree, but I also disagree. I think ultimately people want to play good games, right? And Xbox's good games are so far and few between. You can literally fucking play shit ton of games for, I don't know how much is Game Pass? Like $20 a month, whatever, $25 a month.
Yeah,
wherever
something like that, right?
Yeah.
They still can't fucking sell their console. They still can't sell it. Like,
I don't think they care. I honestly don't think they care that much, particularly in hardware.
I'm not saying that they care. I'm just saying that but people want the good stuff. Like, people want the fucking Ghosts of Yotais. They want the next PlayStation. I think PlayStation has made it such a point that they're not going to give their fucking prestige games away for free. That it creates this... what's the word I'm looking for? Blah? That these games are worth paying for, right? And because these games are fucking good and you will want to pay for this because you don't want to miss out. You don't give a fuck if it's on Game Pass, right? Xbox has watered down their games or lowered their appeal of their games because they're free, right? In air quotes.
Yeah,
sure.
You don't fucking get The Last of Us Part 2, however you felt about it, if you liked it or not, but you don't get that level of quality on fucking Xbox. You don't get fucking God of War. You don't get Death Stranding. You don't get... I mean, maybe you do have Death Stranding now, do you? Did I fuck that up?
The first game's on Xbox.
Yeah, but years after, which is smart. Yeah. But these day one like big games, they're all on PlayStation, and people are telling PlayStation they don't want these fucking dog shit trends. They don't want live service. They want the fucking bangers that PlayStation are known for, right? And because they're shit in the bed just as bad. Like PlayStation. Like, they're shutting studios,
Oh.
they're laying off, they're canceling left, right, and center. They got a fucking sparse outlook. Like, Xbox is murdering them in terms of output, really. But people still don't care.
I agree, but you're looking at it from a point of A, a consumer, and B, of someone who cares about the artistry behind the medium. Microsoft does not Xbox, Microsoft does not give a fuck. They want to sell a gaming version of Microsoft 365.
But this is...
But they do.
This is
like,
why...
It's quantity over quality, and they have this massive fucking thing that is Call of Duty, right? They own that. That is theirs. It's going to sell fucking gangbusters every year. It seems really evident to me that they really don't give a fuck about like the quality of their titles or whether they're, artistic or appeal to a niche or whatever the fuck it is. They care about the value proposition of people seeing you can play these 600 games or whatever for $20 a month. That's the Netflix approach of quantity over quality.
And I agree with you, but what I'm saying is that they're trying so many different things. Sorry, James, I'm on a roll here, but baby. But they're trying so many different things, whereas PlayStation are just like, buy your fucking PS5, dog. Like, just fucking buy it and buy your games. Like, shut up. Here's your fucking weak ass PS Plus subscription service. And Xbox is like, no, you can fucking play it here. You can play it there.
I do think there's to me, a grand irony to all of this is that, like, the concept that Xbox is chasing of, like, all of your games, you get them ease of access, right, to all of the games you ever want, right? And that, I find that very funny that they're sort of tying themselves in knots in a way to build that ecosystem when on the other side of the fence, you've just got normies being like, it's a PS5, I put games in it. When I get home from work, I turn it off again. It's a solved problem in a lot of ways. And I think that the kind of like all streaming, all digital, your TV, your phone, you can do whatever. I think phones especially, I don't think people want to play these games on their phone because you can currently play a lot of them on your phone and nobody fucking does it. And on top of that, the internet infrastructure is also just not there, I think, to achieve the level of like streaming fidelity and quality that they want to be achieving with a lot of this stuff. And so it's kind of like, it's reinventing the wheel when everyone else's wheels are still turning pretty fucking greased and easy. Nintendo just had the single biggest console launch of all time with one game that had one game on it and people still wanted to fucking show up and buy that thing. I just don't think Xbox is offering anything interesting at the moment. I agree with you, Adam. I think that they are playing a long con. And I think in 10 years' time, we might be in a totally different landscape with a lot of this stuff. But right now, it's just progressively more and more into the mire of it.
Yep. That last point you made is 100% what I'm trying to say, though, is that I don't agree with even the value proposition of the whole thing. I don't think like Game Pass and all of that is as golden goose as it's kind of meant to be. But I think in the long term, it is going to be something that we look back on and it'll just be a different landscape. We'll just be playing in a completely different field entirely. And I think a lot of it is going to be because they put a considerable amount of money into the infrastructure that they're building now that they don't think will pay off for another 10 years, but they're obviously committed to driving this shit down everyone's throat.
Aren't they just?
I just think that you got to have the games though. And I think they rely on Call of Duty. I mean, it was their fucking curtains down moment at Summer Game Fest. God, I'd nearly call it Gamescom. It's just like I like what Game Pass allows them to do on a smaller scale. We get the shit like South of Midnight. We get the shit like, and this is what PlayStation I don't think is doing. They're to head up their ass with their anything below a fucking 85 on Metacritic is just not worth doing because so that's its own fucking conversation. I think that's where Xbox is good, is that this platform does allow those to kind of take more risks. Let's put it like that. But they're just throwing darts, man. And it's hitting the fucking bartender at this point. Like they're throwing them everywhere.
Which, like, to your point, PlayStation are also doing, but they're so far ahead it doesn't matter at the moment. And I'm just wondering when that all catches up.
Because
Perfect Dark.
A totally real game.
But their problem,
game changer.
their problem is now is that Xbox has been so far behind. They're like, oh fuck it, let's just put it all on PlayStation anyway.
I honestly, I know what you're saying, that they need games, this, that, and the other. I just don't think they care. I really don't think
They would have to care.
they give a flying fuck. I just don't think they do. I think they're more focused on
Nah, they
building
would
infrastructure and building a platform than they are with the singular products. I just my opinion, honestly don't think they give a shit.
There would be some they would have to care.
Look at Hi-Fi Rush. They inherited that because that came with the acquisition, right? And that game was a critical success. It made money. It was like everything is green there, and they still binned it because they were like, you're not going to make us enough money, and it's not a draw for Game Pass and this, that, and the other. Fucking pour one out for Double Fine. How long are they going to hang in there? Not to be doom and gloom, but
they strike
No, but truly,
They strike me as a company that would go independent again.
I think they would be fine if they were to be axed, but I don't think that they'll be with Microsoft in 2 years.
Anyway,
Makes you think.
it's not a sprint. It's a, what is it, James?
It's a marathon. I appreciate you setting me up for the thing that we've decided we weren't going to talk about, because apparently it was discussed last week.
Yeah, no, but I want to get your thoughts on it, because we have just shit on Xbox. So I feel like it's only shit.
yeah, I mean, look,
dump in the blue toilet.
That's very fair. It's like what we were saying during the Xbox portion, right? It's like PlayStation, Sony PlayStation, however you classify it, just a little cooked, they've lost their confidence, they've lost their juice, they chased way too many of the wrong things at once and are still too proud to fully cut all of them. At the same time, it just, based on my cursory reading over the past couple of years, I don't get the impression Bungie is particularly well run inside of Bungie. Independent of the PlayStation stuff, it seems like there are some pretty fundamental issues at Bungie itself. And so I kind of look at all of it as just a big old shit sandwich. Also, Marathon apparently wasn't very fun. So it's like, there's a lot of moving parts to this one, but I'm not surprised that we've ended up in a space where they've gone, it'll come out when it's ready. Whatever the fuck that means.
I think it's so funny, right? Sorry, Zach, when companies get bought out, you kind of hope that they retain autonomy. And when initially it was announced, like, we're buying Bungie, but it's not going to change the culture, this, that, and the other. This was the one fucking example where a little bit of oversight maybe would have gone a long way, because they very much just. Yeah, it seems like they no longer know what the fuck they're doing, and the inmates are running the asylum a little bit, and it's just not, it's not great. It just looks like a fucking boring game to play at the end of the day. Sorry, Zach, go for it.
Well, okay, I don't want to talk too much about it because it is old news, right? But we haven't had a chance to fucking vent. I didn't realize it was a fucking extraction shooter. Like, odd. If you Fair Games, that, like, fucking hell, like,
Fair Games is dead.
Yeah.
It just, I don't get it. Like, when do you not realize that it's just not going to work? It's just not working for us. Let's focus on things that,
because it doesn't work for anybody.
It's also that
it works.
It's an indictment on how bloated AAA games development has become, though, right? Because, like, it used to be, if there's a trend, you can chase it. If it doesn't work out, the cost of it hasn't sunk your company. That is not the fucking case anymore. Games take like 5, 6, 7 years to make.
It's too long.
If you are gonna, it is, and it's untenable. We just can't keep doing the same thing, because Marathon and Concord are two great examples. The wonderful Concord of, like, it seemed like a great idea when it was in conception, but you can't look that far ahead to see if that thing is still going to be kicking around, right? Even like battle royales, Fortnite's still like the biggest game on the fucking planet. New battle royale comes out, no one gives a fuck because they're playing Fortnite, right? It's not the genre that's a big deal. It's that that one particular game. So like, you can't see fucking 5 years into the future in an industry that's still so relatively young compared to other forms of entertainment.
You look like the one that does sort of break that cycle. Like Marvel Rivals has obviously found its audience because it has an established IP attached to it, right?
Yes.
Like if the systems of Marvel Rival looked like, because the thing is, I feel like once a Keeley, some sort of game will come out and drop a trailer where it's like, we're a quirky sci-fi game with witty dialogue and a lineup of 8 to 12, relatively cool looking ambiguous alien/hot people characters, and they can all do cool abilities in arenas, and aren't you ready to get your friends together? And it's consistently, the answer is no. Nobody wants to play these games. And we just keep going.
The thing that, again, Marvel Rivals had is it's free, right?
Yeah. Free to play's fucked, man. Jesus, that's done damage.
Let's move on from Marathon. But James, do you think we see Marathon?
Oh yeah, I think in some capacity. I imagine this is a I was trying to be like, what was that game that PlayStation were developing that like hit PlayStation Plus and then got taken down? It's like, oh yeah, Concord, the thing we talked about 2 minutes ago. I kind of imagine we Concord it. Like I think this comes out sometime next year, launches on PlayStation Plus, and then just dies a quiet death by Christmas.
I'm gonna go no.
And when I say quiet death, I mean like it'll still be out. Bungie's too big for it to not come out and not be out, I think. But
I just think that whole game is stained. Like the whole what was it? That like the art theft, this whole debacle, the fact that people are saying it's not fun. Like I just think they don't want like another Concord, right? I don't think we see it. I think they just
it's too big a sunk cost. Although they fucking canned The Last of Us multiplayer. I think there were different things. Different horse, different race. But
that is too much. That's too much of a premium IP to put out an inferior
I think it's the
product
IP
with.
behind it for sure. Yeah. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So.
Oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, just give us
Rough,
more
fun
short
one to
games,
watch.
you dogs. Like fucking hell, and that's why they're fucking 7 years take to make, because every man and their dog out there was like, if I'm paying $120, it's got to give me 60 hours. It's like, mate, I don't have 60 hours. Give me 6 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even have 6 hours. Give me a 2-hour DLC. All right, move on.
One final one to send us home on the news. Despite having the biggest console launch of all time with the Nintendo Switch 2, seems like third-party software is not really moving the needle on that platform. Cyberpunk 2077's port is currently the best-selling one that they've got, but there are multiple other publishers, it seems like, are circulating this idea of like, we had pretty low expectations. Like, we had lower expectations in place that we didn't think we'd have to worry about, and we haven't even hit those with this console that's just got 3.5 million units on the streets, right? I know why. I think I know why this is happening. Adam, why do you think this is happening?
Not to kind of make it the obvious point, but things like Split Fiction and Civ and a lot of the other games, like it just, I don't know anyone that would be excited about those games but be like, I'm going to hold out to play it on the Switch too. I just don't think it's the platform that, if it was out on the Switch 2 and the PlayStation 5 was just around the corner, for instance, and that's much beefier hardware and it's going to be the place to play it, then I would hold out. The other way around, no. I think going forward, newer third parties, say like Little Nightmares or fucking, I don't know another one off the top of my head. The idea of it being portable to just the general public, I think will move those units, but games that are already out, it just doesn't really, like, there's no value to it.
For
in
years.
my eyes.
Like, not just out, but they've been out for
exactly.
years.
Yeah.
like the Yakuza game, the fucking all of the games that have come out on it. Like, there's nothing there that I'm like, fuck, that'd be cool to play on the Switch. It's just like back catalog library games. So I don't think the suite is. I think the games. No, I'm not going to say the game's the problem, but there's just no drive to play it on the Switch 2 on that hardware.
I just think that people who have wanted to play these games have already played them.
That's what I was trying to say, but I used way too many words. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Drawn
Cyberpunk came out
out.
on the fucking PS4, brother. Like, what, you think someone's waiting for the Switch 2 for that? Also, it's probably inferior compared to like a high-end PC or even a PS5 Pro.
Exactly. Yeah. There's also the fact that like you've just dropped $770 on the
also
hardware, and it comes with your Mario Kart. I don't think you're also going to throw in another $99 or $2 game onto that bundle right now in this economic moment. There's so many reasons why this is clearly happening. I think it's just very funny. I always like when a publisher is like, why is nobody playing our overpriced port of a 5-year-old game?
Absolutely. And it's very much on the publisher to some degree, because a lot of these games that have been out for ages are fucking expensive. Like, they're full price. They're not like, hey, it's been out for a while, we'll make it 3/4 of the price. They're just fucking full price games again. Like, why would you?
So they're like $100, are they? Is that the price? $99 or whatever it is?
Let me jump on the older
Prices
indie
are
games
all over
Australia.
the place.
Yeah, it is. There's no real convention for it, but
No. Which is exciting in some
Fiction,
ways.
$70. Sonic Generations or whatever, $100. Yakuza 0, that game's been out a very long time.
Zero?
$89.
That came out. That did come out on the PS4. That was even free on PS Plus. Does it? Okay.
Street Fighter, $80.
Who's playing Street Fighter on a Switch?
Wow. These are the questions, aren't they?
Well, apparently no one.
Literally.
Apparently. So,
That's it.
James, switch question without notice: is the Switch hardware comparable to a PS4? Because I know, like, I'm trying to remember like headlines, like things.
I think it's like PS4 Pro-ish levels, right? Okay. That's where we've landed roughly.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's probably also why people aren't playing them on this software, right? Sorry, this software, hardware. Sorry.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Before we get into off topics, Zach, been a while.
Has been. What's up? Talk to me.
Take us to the movies of the 2000s.
Oh, right. I thought you were going somewhere else for that. I'm glad. Okay.
Nope.
So, let me just check. I did find, because one of the blurbs I had literally says the name of the film.
Yeah, that won't do. If it's Doom, we've done it before. Just to let
that
you know.
that one is way too long. I'm not going to read that. Okay. Former prosecutor works as a fixer at the corporate law firm of Kenner, Back and Ledeen, whatever, and takes care of his employer's dirty work. Burnt out and deep in debt, he is bound tightly to the firm. Faces the biggest challenge of his career when a guilt-ridden attorney has a breakdown during a huge class action lawsuit.
I've got nothing personally. Adam?
Fuck.
It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. I'll give you that. Best
Can you
Picture,
give us the lead?
Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Score, blah,
Best
blah, blah.
Picture.
Best Actor for Cluntang.
Who?
George Clooney.
Nah, I've got nothing.
Yeah, total blank.
Okay, here's one last clue. You may have never seen it, but it's a name. The movie is a name. A person's name.
Shit.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah. Easy.
Damn it.
Give you 5 seconds.
Nah, I know where we're going. I just can't get there.
Michael Clayton.
There we go. There we go.
Sitting on a sexy 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. You can watch Michael Clayton apparently on SBS. You can rent it from Apple TV, and that's about it. So if you haven't seen it, you probably, unless you got SBS, you're probably not gonna.
I love that.
SBS, while we're here, great resource.
Absolutely.
A lot of good movies on there. Deal with a couple of ads, grow up, be an adult, get in there,
Mate,
have fun.
Those bloody Scandinavian shows on that, and the UK ones. Oh,
Mate, the scans know how to do it.
they do.
Some kick-ass documentaries as well. George Clooney, when you go on his IMDb, 90% of his credits currently are just Nespresso ads, which I think is pretty funny.
That's the future we all deserved for him.
Let's go around the room. How old do you reckon George Clooney is?
I reckon 62.
I was also gonna say 62. I'm gonna leave it there.
I'll say
We'll
63.
both be wrong together.
Just to be different. All right, let's click on him. Fuck, he's 64.
Oh no!
Pretty close. Pretty fucking close.
There you go.
Work, boys.
Yeah.
Within spitting
We've
distance
solved
of the
it.
correct answer.
Has anyone seen Michael
This
Clayton?
is
I'm
a
going to assume
hard-hitting
Adam
report.
definitely has not seen Michael Clayton. Okay, good, great film. Good film.
I believe it.
2007, by the way, FYI.
Ah, there you go. There you go. I went to the movies for my birthday. I went out for a fucking incredible steak dinner. Shout outs to steak.
How'd you have the steak?
What a fucking concept. It was like a rare medium. It was like a
medium
chef's tasting kind of thing. No, like more on the rare side than the medium side. But they served it with this like fucking infused garlic butter. Oh, mate, you know when you bite into a food so good you can't help but smile as you eat it. It was that fucking good. And
Maybe
also
does
there was
that
a
when he's
pasta
eating
dish in
ass.
there, maybe a little Italian. Okay, okay. Anyway, movies.
I'm sorry.
Went-
He
saw-
would appreciate that joke, but go on.
He actually really would. Celine Song's Materialists. This is
yeah.
the follow up to
I've heard about this.
her film. Yeah, she did Past Lives. Only a couple of years ago, which is a fucking certified banger in so many ways. Materialists is simultaneously like a 2000s rom-com. It is very accessible. It is very shiny. Movie stars looking hot, talking about love in New York. You know, it ticks a lot of the boxes. In a lot of ways, there's a little Devil Wears Prada energy in there. Sometimes it's that kind of like clipping along. Made by a fucking art house woman who is an incredible writer. And so it's infused with a bunch of weird tension and kind of drama. I don't think it entirely hangs together as much as I would like it to, but I think it's a really fucking weird adult movie that's hit cinemas. And it's just really cool to see big budget adult romantic comedy dramas. It's something we don't really get a lot of anymore. So yeah, great movie. Pedro Pascal, fucking incredible in it. And that's a man that I've soured on a lot lately, but he won me back.
All right. You know what really drew me into that film? What if you can guess?
Yeah. Dakota Johnson.
The font of the...
I did not see that
No,
coming.
you did not. When you said that, I was like, okay, you're definitely not going to get
Holy
this.
shit.
So
Dakota Johnson also, I didn't realize, is quite entertaining in a very dry humor way.
I don't even know who
She is on
that
a
is.
whole
Yeah.
planet of her
I know
own.
who
It's a
it is,
beautiful
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
All
Wonderful.
right.
Respect.
Yeah.
Adam, you got anything before
Adam.
I dive in with my triple treat?
Zach, you already know that I've had a cinematic experience this week. I'll be honest.
I forgot about
so Key is currently in Adelaide, so I'm batching it here at home. And
What better
generally what that means is instead of like, you know, I can play games, I can do all of these things. I lose all motivation because I can't be alone. And I end up just sitting on my couch watching movies. And I was like, what can I watch that will be good content for the podcast? Legitimately, that was my thought. So I was like, it's perfect. I know. Pope's Exorcist. And all I can say is that Russell Crowe might be the most authentic Italian without being Italian that I've ever seen. Enthralling performance, genuinely. No,
agree.
not genuinely. I think his Italian was fine. But I was saying to Zach, I was annoyed because I think Russell Crowe's a bit of a flog. I was annoyed at how likable his character was. Like, genuinely, he's a very likable, endearing character, and it gave me the shits that I liked him. Movie shit, though. It's terrible.
Oh, dog shit, but entertaining.
Did it
Yeah,
piss you
I
off
had a good time.
more that he rode a Vespa? That fucked me right
No,
up.
I
don't know why. That really gave me the
I
shits.
loved that. I loved that he used it to, like, tow a fucking thing off a well. I'm like, like, I'm stronger than that Vespa. So I don't understand how,
Maybe it's the
I
holy
loved
water,
it.
baby.
Getting around the Vatican in his little Vespa. Fucking hilarious. And he's not like a small dude.
No, that's what I mean. Like it was
pretty
frustrating.
big guy.
It's like,
on a Vespa. Loved it.
all right, I got 3 things for you. I watched Until Dawn.
Oh, is it terrible?
It's yes. It starts. It starts okay. I'm like, okay, this could be this is going to be watchable. It's also a $25 rent if you're going to pay for it on Amazon. Yeah.
No, I am not.
Nope.
On Amazon. Well, someone's going to take one for the team here.
Just pay $25 for this.
Just put that on the WellPlayed on the Amex, mate.
Yeah,
Tap on
the
the
tab.
teal card. Love it.
Yeah, it started kind of cool. Just did not. Once it like the premise is actually kind of cool, right? The idea of that film is actually kind of cool, and I like that. Anna was a bit pissed off that it didn't follow the game. I'm like, you know what? I like that they've taken this concept and give it another shot somewhere else. It didn't land.
And completely ignored it. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. Like it did not work well. Bad film. I give it 5 out. I gave it 2.5 on Letterboxd, but I maybe felt like I was being a bit generous because I like the game. Second thing, I watched The Surfer. That's where the surfing thing from earlier was going to tie in. Doesn't make any kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't segue at all, but,
Sure.
it's there. Nicolas Cage,
Love it.
unhinged as fuck. This is a fucking bizarre film. This is one where he is in Australia, right? It's set in Australia. It's set in WA, and he's... Julian
Gross.
McMahon, phenomenal in this film. Like, captivating actor in this film. I actually didn't even realize it was him until kind of the end when Anna's like, he's a bit of a dilf, and I was like, all right, let's who is this guy? Who do I need to fucking beat up? And it turns out it's Julian McMahon. I'm like, no, I ain't going near there. But so this is Nick Cage plays an Australian, right? But doesn't change his accent because he's been living overseas for that long that he's just now got this really. He sounds like Nick Cage, right? What's the man going to do? Act? I don't know. But
Yeah, it sounds like that was a way that they could write him not having to put effort in, but sure.
And essentially he comes back to his hometown and wants to buy his old childhood home, tries to take his kids surfing. The locals are like, get off the fucking beach, you dog, you're not a local. And then the whole film takes place in this car park, but basically in this car park of this beach. It is a wild ride. It is an interest. If you got Stan, like it's on Stan, right? It's for free on Stan. So it's worth watching just to see. Cage he's quite good. He's quite good in it, but it is unhinged and it's fucking ridiculous at times. But interesting. I give it 6.5. And I also started watching Shrinking on Apple TV. Again, fucking incredible. Like just
There's just not enough on Apple TV.
oh, bro, it's so good. Like this is
You know
like
what I'm saying?
94% like RTs, mate. Love it. It's got our good mate Jason Segel. I think that's how you say it. Segel, whatever.
Sure.
Harrison
Segel.
Ford.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and he
What?
kills it. He kills it as a cranky old therapist. Like,
Well,
the idea
I
is
mean-
So Harrison Ford.
it's
Yeah.
So Shrinking
not
is
acting.
you play. You don't play us, but Jason Segel, he's a therapist, and his wife has passed away, so he's essentially dealing with that part. It's been like a year, and yeah, he's a therapist. Yeah,
So not literal shrinking.
no,
like shrink.
No, but I did have that same
Oh.
thought when I first
Okay.
saw that I thought maybe they're going to shrink Jason Segel. He's too big.
I'd always been
They
under the
can't
impression
shrink
this
him.
was like a high concept sci-fi show.
No,
about
this
shrinking
is
people.
a very comedy. This is like, how Nathan always refers to games as like junk food kind of thing. This is like an excellent. This is like, this started out as junk food for me. I was hopping into bed, might do some writing on my laptop. Oh, all of a sudden, I'm not doing any writing. I'm watching the show. Hey, all of a sudden, I've watched a whole season in a week.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Yeah.
Highly recommend it. Funny. Just something that just kind of breaks up all the fucking dark, grim, Scandinavian fucking crime thrillers that I'm watching. So, like,
Can't all be dead girls' bodies in the snow, can it?
that's it. But no, I would definitely, I would highly recommend watching that if that's your kind of thing. But yeah, like Harrison Ford kills it, Jason Segel kills it. One of the main girls, like I should know her name, she is also fantastic. I do want to give her a shout out before we move on very quickly. Her name is Jessica Williams. Fantastic.
On you, Jess.
Shout outs. Big fan of the podcast. Cheers. She did shout that out in the TV show.
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, if Jess Williams or anyone else wanted to read any of the content we talked about this, I hate that I use content like that, actually. I take that back. Any of the words that we have talked about this week, they can head to well-played.com.au. We are also over on YouTube at wellplayed_au, Twitter at wellplayed_au, and Blue Sky is just at wellplayed. Nice and simple.
James, question for you.
I love questions as I'm
If
trying to
you-
wrap up the
if-
show, Zach.
Well, no, this is a good little one. If you did go to the YouTube, what would you find there?
Oh,
That might be a question for Adam, actually. Adam, what would you find?
maybe some Strand content.
Yeah, a little bit of Strand content. There's an S tier delivery using some of the new tools. It's about a 9-minute video. The other two are a lot shorter. One is showing off some of the combat with the Ghost Mechs, which is a new enemy faction in the game. And the last one is summoning a BT like a Pokemon, because that is a function that is in the game. I didn't mention it in my review, but if you're a sicko and want to see it early, then you can go and do that.
Hell yeah. Well, that's great.
You can wrap it up now.
Oh, okay. Now I can keep going with my organic ending
now
to the
you
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful. Bye.
Gotcha.
See ya.